Let's speak about eavesdropping on the internet. Eavesdropping, that means listening to data packets which are sent over the open communication channels of the internet, of an open network, with the goal to collect data, to obtain data and confidential information which are sent in the data packets. You asked why and how this is possible? Yeah, remember, the data packets are routed during the transport from the sender to the receiver via several intermediate systems. With the intermediate system, which makes a decision how to transport the data in the next neighbored system, with a goal to finally send the data package to the receiver. These intermediate systems, they can be intercepted by attackers. There are also eavesdropping programs in place, so-called sniffers. Of course, these sniffers, these were programs which were not designed for attackers. These were designed to intercept data packets on the internet to find out failures in the network or problems. So actually conceiving or designed the sniffer programs for diagnosing network problems, and of course it was not designed as an attack tool. But of course attackers use such kind of program to eavesdrop data in the internet. The sniffers can be run in different operation modes. There is a direct mode. The direct mode displays only that data packets which are addressed to and which originated from an intermediate system on which the sniffer is installed. But beside of the direct mode, sniffers can also be operated in the promiscuous mode. And in the promiscuous mode, the sniffer displays all data packets that are routed through the intermediate system in which the sniffer is installed. So not only the data package from a specific system, but all the data package that are run and transported through the intermediate system. So if the sniffer is installed at a strategic point in the internet, then of course it will see all the data packets that are sent on the internet through that station, through that strategic point, and not only the data packages sent or received by one machine. So sniffers intercept a huge amount of data, but the search is very complex. So the idea to misuse such sniffer programs for attackers is to filter the data that are collected. For example, to look for a specific sender, or to look and to search for a specific recipient, to look for a special protocol that is used, or a special port. Port is a gate, is an entrance point to certain applications, or for example to filter for specific contact. There are specialized eavesdropping programs which search in the data packets, for example, for specific contents, for patterns, a specific sequence of letters. For example, they look for password, or they look for username. Kain und Abel is such a tool. Most popular sniffer is Wireshark, and here is the interface, the graphical user interface, which shows the different stations and which kind of protocols is used and gives some information of what is done. So with such type of powerful tool, it's easy for attackers to eavesdrop all what's sent through the internet. There are many different eavesdropping attack scenarios. For example, sniffing HTTP passwords. HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, the application protocol for the World Wide Web. And for many applications in the World Wide Web, a password is needed. So HTTP, which is responsible for all the data transport in the World Wide Web, sends passwords in plain text. This is the design of this protocol. So the sniffer can read plain text passwords and usernames, and then directly from the corresponding data packets, and later on this password can be misused. Another eavesdropping attack scenario is to sniff session keys. So web pages use session keys to recognize and remember a logged user. So for example, if a user is doing online shopping, he is doing some activities and he waits a moment to find out some more information, then he comes back. And so with the session key, the service can recognize and can remember the user. For example, session key can be read from an HTTP packet. Here is http://bank.com transfer session, and this is the session key, what's transmitted in the URL. And this allows the attackers to take over the session key to take the session key and then to take over the connection without further login, because the session key, to create the session key, this is one of the things that is done in the login process. There are more attack scenarios. For example, spying on web pages which are visited by a user. So HTTP queries display the web pages that are visited. So an interesting attacker can see all the pages that are visited by a user. And he can see also keywords which are entered in different forms for web service. It's also possible to see the content of the page that are visited, and this gives the attacker an idea and more specific knowledge about the user, which he or she later can misuse. Reading of emails is another attack scenario, eavesdropping attack scenario. The email protocol SMTP is unencrypted. So the attacker can read all the emails. You should be aware of this fact when you are sending emails. So what are the protection measures against eavesdropping in the internet? The basic protection measure is encryption. Encryption of messages and connections. Use instead of HTTP the secured variant HTTPS. This is HTTP over TLS SSL. So the attacker can sniff the data, can eavesdrop the data, but he cannot understand. He cannot understand the content. He cannot read password or username. So listening to and interpreting well-encrypted connections is almost impossible with correct implementation. Another protection measure is strong authentication. And strong authentication, we discussed this already, can be reached by multi-factor authentication. So the interception of credentials cannot be used directly for login. And multi-factor authentication requires, for example, the possession of a smart card as one element, and a second factor, the PIN, to use that smart card. So eavesdrop passwords are therefore unless, because also a card is needed. So you see there is a variety of protection against eavesdropping. Important is that you are aware internet is an open net, it's an open network, and everyone who has access to the internet can also see the information that is sent over the internet.